Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Steve Tuller-Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system and topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Test and demonstration facilities play a vital role in the green transition of our society. Simply because before new technical solutions and innovation processes can be implemented in production and industry, there's a need to understand in a safe, isolated environment how they function in real life. The EU Commission funds a lot of research and innovation projects that are pushing the boundaries of technologies, which means that test activities are needed in the last steps of the development processes. The Biobase Europe pilot plant is such a facility. The test plant is specialized, as the company name suggests, within the bio-based and circular sectors. Hence, the facility plays a key role in testing and demonstrating a lot of the groundbreaking solutions within the food and agricultural sectors and in developing sustainable production methods to remove chemicals and other harmful ingredients from our daily life. I invited European project manager Tanja Meyer from the Biobase Europe pilot plant into the virtual podcast studio for a talk about what they are doing at the plant and how they are working practically and strategically with the EU funding. Follow the time codes in the episode notes if you want to skip the Biobase conversation and go directly to the EU funding conversation. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Today, we're going to have a talk with an organization, or I am going to have a talk with an organization that I've been connected to on and off here and there over the years, especially as a private consultant. I was with P&O and I was doing bioeconomy rated proposals. And when you do that, once in a while, you need to test and demonstrate. And you have different... Of course, you have universities, research organizations, stuff like this throughout the continent that do these kind of things, but you actually also have a bio-based pilot plant. And Tanja, welcome.
Hey, Niels. Happy to be with you here today.
You are the EU project responsible, EU funding responsible with the bioplan. Maybe, or you maybe correct me on that. So maybe you say a few words about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Tanja Meyer, and I work as the European project coordinator at the Biobase Europe pilot plant, which is located in Belgium and Ghent. And yeah, indeed, I'm in the team. We do project acquisition for public funded projects. And yeah, I'm working there since seven years now. So I've seen a lot of the growth of the Biobase Europe pilot plant as well.
Yeah. And your background, what did you do before you worked for them?
I'm a diploma engineer for bio nanotechnology.
Also, actually knows about stuff.
I hope so, yeah. And then I actually changed a little direction, and I did a master for technology and innovation management.
Yeah, nice. Now we're going to spend this next hour and a half talking about the bioplant and how you work with EU funding. But maybe, let's just hit the button, because we're going to talk about them anyways all the time. Fly-in. Can you share a little bit about short intro talk about the bioplan and how you deal with funding before we dig into your organization and so on?
Yeah, sure. So Biobase Europe pilot plant is actually what we call an open access or shared pilot and demo facility. So that means that we are offering services, open access, which doesn't mean it's free of cost, of course, to scale up clients or consortium-based IP from lab scale to pilot or demonstration level. So we really support them as a service along the the technology readiness level, the TRL levels, for TRL3 to, let's say, really up to very high TRL levels, up to TRL9. I think that's for all kind of bio-based products and processes.
So you have the facilities to be able to pick up all sorts of scaled and one-to-one tests and demonstrations, no?
Yeah, so it's really flexible setup. So what we like to say, it's like a multi-purpose approach, to really be able to serve a lot of different protocols of different needs of customers and clients. Because when we talk about a startup or something, then yeah, their technical requirements are all very different for their innovations.
Let's just move straight into the organization in a nutshell and carving that out. But before we do that, yourself, what is your experience on the EU funding part? Have you been writing proposals in your engineering career, or have you managed projects implementing and so on? Or?
Yeah, so the way we do it at Biobase is actually that we have the team of project acquisition managers, and we are basically involved like from the beginning, from the first touch with a potential consortium for a public funded proposal, like helping and writing, finding the concepts, detailing it, finding project partners, because we have a large network, up to until it's granted, hopefully. And then actually also taking over the project management as either partner, work package leader, or also as a coordinator. So I have like 3 projects that are involved in as a coordinator, but also work package leader or task leader, let's say.
So that's sort of full circle.
It's a full circle, yeah.
Yeah, and my best guess is that you also have some activities towards Brussels, technology platform, stuff like this.
Yeah, no, it's really important for us. So it's not only the technical service that we offer, but we are really involved and engaged in different networking platform activities towards Brussels for bioeconomy. Of course, there's a bioindustry consortium, BIC, and which are joint undertaking partner for the CBE, the Circular Bio-Based Economy, which provides open call topics and other services for to accelerate the bioeconomy.
That's a core stakeholder for you, right?
It's like a column, really, a pillar.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to that. Very good. So that means that it sounds. Are you also involved in the Brussels part yourself? Do you give
Partly.
input on?
Actually,
So
all of us is partly involved in it. We have to follow up what's going on there. Yeah.
Thanks. Let's dig a little bit into the organization. So the organization in a nutshell. When did you start off? How old is the organization?
It's been a while now, actually. Yeah. So it became like a legal entity in 2008 already.
Okay. Yeah.
It was initiated by an Interreg project between Belgium and the Netherlands, initiated by Professor Wim Soetert, who's leading the bioengineering department at the University of Ghent. And he saw this need that there needs to be a pilot facility offering open access services. So it was in this frame actually when it started, but it took like 2 years until actually the first run or the first operational clients and processes could be. So like detailed, we can say we are now 14 years old and delivering services to clients.
Yeah, but that's a nice outcome of EU funded project, right? Nice thing. This is what the Commission wants. If they could get something like this with all the projects they fund, a nice concrete result, that's that lasting. All right. So how many people are you in total? How many people do you work with?
From this year, we are around 180 people now.
Yeah. And what is the division between paper movers and engineers, so to say? Desktop people and people with a with a screwdriver in their hand.
Yeah. No, of course, the main part, the biggest group is our engineers and technicians, the people on the shop floor, supported by our technical team. But as we grew, there are a lot of different departments coming on top of this, like quality department and administrative people, IT support. Yeah, it's a full working operational SME now.
Yeah. Of course, it's a nutshell part of the recording here, but of course, the more the economy and the society moves towards looking much more into bioeconomy, bio-based solutions, so to say. Yeah, more and more companies will also move in that direction. More and more needs to test. Be the client base will grow in your end. So you also need to be able to. You don't have to turn too many down, so to say. So it's part of your, I guess, the plant's business model to sort of answer to the growing need.
Yeah, so that's what we saw, that there, indeed, and it's also what we advocate for, that there are more either new startups spin outs are coming up, or that more chemical-based companies are changing their strategy, also large enterprise, and there's a growing demand indeed. So we also had to adapt to it and expand our capabilities, especially like the last 3-4 years. But I think it's very much in balance now. So we are now actually very well equipped to answer the needs of the potential clients, and to have a lot of personnel available to check the requirements of the processes with them.
Yeah. When I was working for the offshore renewable sector, like offshore wind and ocean energy, there was a constant call for more test facilities and larger test facilities to be able to answer to the growing need within research, moving towards commercialization of the area. How is it within the bioeconomy in your sort of part of your sector? Is there a shortage, so to say, of test facilities? So putting, of course, your business model in a nice place, or is it how is it? Is it something where the sector says we need more test facilities, or how is that?
That's a good question. We hear that a lot as well in the last couple of years. Yeah, indeed.
Yes, of course you want more clients, but maybe it's also good to have a thriving sector where you can synergize with other test facilities.
Well, we do. We had even with our, let's say, competitors also joint projects in the past. So there was the Smart Pilots project. It's still online. But come back to your question. It's really, I think, depends. The answers from who you're talking to and whom you're asking. So from as I said, from the project, we performed smart pilots where there were 6 other pilot and demo facilities, and still we are in contact with them. That's the message, is to rather keep the existing ones and keep them state of the art, support the ecosystem around it, make it interregional or interborder accessible, rather than having test and demo facilities popping up like mushrooms in autumn, which cost a fortune on infrastructure money, and then if it fails, it's just gone.
Yeah. How many? Because I guess you have. I don't guess. I know. Of course, you have universities and research organizations throughout Europe that has some facilities in-house, right?
Right.
How many actual bioeconomy related test plants dedicated to being a test plant do you have in Europe?
Yeah, there are actually a couple of ends. So that's also something we looked into. There was also, again, a European funded project. It was called Pilots for You, which set up a database, so BioPilots for You. And in this one, I think at the moment there were like 120, 130 different facilities identified. But as you can see, like there was so much change in the last 5 years that this database is a little bit outdated. So we saw this ourselves, and now we actually getting a new project. It's actually starting. When is the 1st of June? This weekend, right? Saturday. So there's a new project starting that is continuing this Biopilots for You database and getting new contacts for pilot and demo facilities for especially also Eastern Europe, looking into more low TRL support labs from universities or research organization. So this project will be called Co-Pilot. And yeah, it also has the purpose of really supporting SMEs or startups, not only like listening new pilot and demo facilities or checking the capabilities, but also providing a supporting community around it, because having infrastructure or something is one side of the story only. Yeah. So you also need to have to support the clients and potential customers that they can use their the pilot infrastructures.
Yeah. All right. What kind of organization are you? A private company? Is legally? How is that?
Yeah, we are non-for-profit SME.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just one way, right?
So you don't have? Do you have a board?
Yes, there's a board.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't have shareholders or anything.
No,
this.
It's fully independent. So there are no shareholders. But this is just one business model or organization type. So in the past, we also looked at different types. As you said, a lot of universities also offer open access infrastructure. So of course, that's totally different then. Huh?
Okay, and so the financial foundation you have, do you have any government, do you have any donors like this, so you have sort of, like a common income, or do you totally rely on private, on clients paying for services? How is that?
Yeah, it's the latter one. So indeed, a donor would be fantastic.
Okay, so hence the EU funded engagement in EU funded projects.
Yes, but they didn't come up yet. So we have to use, on the one hand, the bilateral contracts with the clients to keep the pilot plant running, and on the other hand, to apply a lot for grants, national-wide, European-wide, but also to apply for grants to extend our infrastructure, for example, for equipment, right?
Yeah.
The ERDF funding is very important.
So it's a model that keeps you on your tippy toes.
It keeps us busy, yeah.
All right.
We also have to earn our existence.
Yeah. Which leads me to your department. How many people are you there in the EU? Like attracting external funding. How many do you sit there?
We have 5 now.
Yeah. I guess that can be intense.
That's quite intense. Yeah, there are sometimes specific deadlines.
And they fall on the same date if
Yeah.
Which means that 5 people, I know what I'm talking about. 5 people, that's, I always say proposal preparation, that's resource intensive. As sort of a balanced word, so to say, not negative, positive laden word. But that must mean that you are very, very busy around call deadlines. Because given the fact that you would be involved in many different proposals.
Yeah, so mostly, 2 months. It's a high peak workload before any deadline, which is mostly middle of September, or for the Horizon Europe calls, then in January, February. That's on European level. On national level, we also have a colleague supporting us, so we're actually 6, where the deadlines are a little bit different in months. But sometimes very interesting as we support startups that we know well. We had a contact already with that they can use as much as funding, or we bring them into projects as well. There are also ongoing projects we are involved in, so it's this half.
You need to implement at the same time as you develop proposals.
Yeah, but that also makes it fun, yeah. So you really
if it's balanced, yes. We'll get back to this when we reach to the EU funding block here. So it's just me opening up a little bit. Sorry about that. No. Tanya, let's talk a little bit about what you do. What the service and the functions and so on. And it's allowed to geek a little bit about how the services you have and offer as a pilot plant, getting a little bit more, unfolding a little bit what it actually is, what a bioplant is, test plant is, what sectors.
Yeah, in our case, what we would like to say is that we are a one-stop shop. Because we really we have capacities, to pre-treat biomass, so different kinds of biomass, like of course 1G from agriculture, different types. We're starting also now with waste streams.
Are there any waste streams or biomass you can't work with?
Yes, of course there are.
I'm sorry, as a bio wise, yeah.
But actually, more basically, what is kind of not homogeneous or kind of dirty waste, not defined waste, because we are food grade certificated company. So that's just clashing with regulators.
Yeah. So what is the typical raw materials that you can work with, as an example?
Basically anything that is contains sugar or starch potential, syngas as gas fermentation, we can work with, but lignocellulosic, agricultural side streams. Yeah, that's more interesting indeed for European funded projects. Yeah.
Yeah. So the sector. So it's agricultural. The agricultural area here we're talking about. So
examples like potato waste, peels, or sugar beet pulp, pulp and paper is another industry, another example, for example.
So also the food industry, waste materials from food industry, for instance, stuff like that.
Yes, from households or supermarkets. More supermarkets than households. Yeah.
Do you also work with bioplastic and stuff like this?
That's upcoming more and more, indeed, to use this as a feedstock and then enzymatically treat it. So we need the bio-based technology again.
Yeah.
So we don't do any mechanical or chemical treatment on the bioplastic.
So that's so it's moving. But I guess you will also more and more see this kind of circular economy client, so to say, where you have also bio-based materials coming out as waste itself that will then be treated to come back into the as a raw material being reused.
Yeah, one aspect is the bioplastic, but that's very early stage. Yeah, from, as you said before, the food industry, like brewer spent grain, there's a hype on it.
Yes, that's a big thing in this. If the projects that proposals did develop, it was like mask, these byproducts from brewing beers.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing because a lot of beers are being produced. So there's a lot of waste, a huge waste stream. So, you must also have fruit. Yeah, peels. You mentioned that. Like apples, oranges. Maybe. Do you get anything? How what your client base, so to say, is that primarily around Northwestern Europe where you're situated, or do you also get from other parts of Europe? Italy, Spain.
From a client base, yeah, it's from all types or regions of Europe, but also.
Okay, so you also get olives, stuff like this.
Yeah, that's part of or cherry. Cherry bulbs is another example. Oil of either the table water or the bulb as well after pressurizing. It's could be anything actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So on purpose, I didn't. I don't dig too much into the guests I have in, and when because I want a proper folding it out for me, So, but I did look a little bit into your website, of course, on your services. So you have sort of listed. So you put them into 3 categories: of process development, scale up, and custom manufacturing. Can you explain a little bit about each of these?
Yeah, actually, I would like to go one little step back to
Of
a
course.
previous question. So,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I started with saying we
Sorry.
are a one-stop shop, and then I started with the biomass pre-treatment, but that actually leads us to the conversion technologies,
Yeah.
that we offer. So we expanded there a little bit.
Okay.
So for the technology of the conversion technology is more fermentation, for example. So everything that includes microorganisms like bacteria, yeast, fungi, and now also microalgae. The same for gas fermentation. So here I mentioned it already, we can work with syngas or off gases from steel manufacturer or paper pulp manufacturer, cement.
Can you explain the listeners what syngas is?
It's a mix from different off gases like CO, CO2, hydrogen, sometimes also impurities, so forth, gases.
And how they generate through fermentation, or how does it work?
They're actually the feedstock for the microorganism. So there will be actually fed into the fermenter, and this will be taken as a feedstock to convert into, for example, acetic acid.
So it's a facilitating element in the biotechnological process.
Instead of sugars, they use the gases.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, that's super interesting. And then of course let's mention another bio process. It's bioconversion. So when I touched up on this before, like if you have enzymes, this is used to convert different materials as well enzymatically. So you can produce enzymes in a fermentative way, and then you can do the conversion with these enzymes as well. And then we still have also some pilot tools for green chemistry. So everything, that is like green chemistry. We call something that is not with very high temperature or with very high pressure. Also with the like what we call mild solvents, like a nail polisher, for example. And then, of course, you still have a broth of fermentation or something, so you have to purify it. Yeah, it's like a soup. You have different ingredients in chicken soup. Huh? So, and you only want to have one element out of it. So that means you really have to filtrate, separate, purify, dry, crystallize. So there are many, many, many purification, or what we call downstream purification steps involved.
Yeah, because dear listener, the goal with what Tanya is explaining here with these processes that you take something that you're not that cannot be used, waste from some sort of agricultural production, and then you use the processes that Tanya's just explained, and then you extract through this something that can be used, for instance, into food as taste enhancer, or you can do all kinds of things. So maybe, Tanya, what things have you been involved in the bioplant to develop through this process? Give an example of the range of different extracts where you can use them as like natural preservatives for food or stuff like this.
Yeah, that's a good example as well. Nutraceuticals, a lot of different types of proteins for different purposes, not only as a meat replacer, but as an emulsifier. Cellulose, for example, is one. Bio-based solvents as well, bio-based monomers that will be then used in a bio-based plastic. Biosurfactants. So we have a spin-out company, Amphistar. Their goal is to produce biosurfactants. So it's really depending what is the goal, what is the...
Yes, and I think the important thing is, because some listeners that listen to this, they know a little bit what we're talking about here. But I think for the general listener that deals with EU funding, like it would might be interesting to know from a layman's point of view, that what is happening in the bioeconomy sector with the value chain where you are involved, Tanya, the bioplant, that is that we're moving towards a place where we try to take things from natural resources or natural waste and exchange it with all the numbers we don't like in food, or all the things in makeup that is not good for the body, or like that. You try to, throughout the products that we use to consume, that we try slowly to find, identify, through research and innovation, identify things that can be replaced with natural elements instead, that is being extracted through biotechnological processes like this. That's the end goal.
Yeah, but also before food, you have to let it grow. So bio-based fertilizers, pesticides, for
Also
example.
very important. Also big area that can change a lot for the world we live in. And not only that, as the clever listener, and all my listeners are clever, they will understand that when you use natural extracted components in food or fertilizer, so on, then it's also, when it comes itself out in the other end, it's a natural product, so it's not harmful anywhere. You might even be able to recycle it, as we just talked about the bioplastic, for instance, that you don't, we use a little less of the planet that we're sitting on here, that we move slowly in bits and pieces towards a place where we kindly borrow things and kindly hand them back, or reuse them again, so it's not taking such a toll on the place we're living here. So
yeah, that would be perfect indeed.
And now you can hear the violence in the back. That's what it's about. That's what's also drive many of you and your colleagues within the bioeconomy, especially when it's about this, that it's something that can actually change things very concretely, with food on the table and how we use things. No, that was a detour. I'm sorry. Have I interrupted you in the flow of how you wanted to explain things?
No, just
I just wanted to explain the listeners, try to give a perspective on it. Yeah. So.
No, I think we were still you were asking about why we call it process development, scale up, and custom manufacturing, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I think that's summarized, or a headword of what we see are the needs of our clients. So process development is really lower TAL, where we do still have to help them to develop their process, to optimize it, to benchmark it to existing technologies.
And how do you do that? Do you go in so they pay you as a consultant, and you then work together with them on how to optimize that process, or how do you work with them on that?
It's basically as they give us their recipe. So
yeah.
It's like making a cake.
Yeah.
So you have the recipe, and they developed it. It's their own IP. They can. We are happy if they keep it. And yeah, we try it out. We see in what we call a technology transfer, how it performs in our laboratories. So let's say it's a very low TAL. Then we also start with the 10-liter scale, for example, or 7.5-liter scale fermenter. And then indeed we do different approaches. We look at the yield, the titer, if the recipe works, how the strain is behaving. And then we go with them step by step in scaling up the technology. So that's from the process development to the scale up. But sometimes the process is already very advanced. So a client just needs some application material of the end product to show it to their clients, or to convince an investor for a couple of million deals, let's say.
Yeah. And then they have with you set up the test environment and then add the what they are lacking in the process to help them with that, and then you run the tests, or run the demo of how it would work.
Yeah, we would not call it tests anymore, but more really production runs.
Okay.
So we have 4.5 process halls with the equipment setup. It's mobile equipment mostly. to connect accordingly to the protocol requirements. And then we let it run and we see and we share data. So that's something we are very proud of, that we can offer them actually a lot of data on their protocol, on their process, I mean. So we have a lot of reactors that are automized, so you can really track the parameters. So they basically get everything back on what is needed on their process to then go to a manufacturing company, CDMO.
Sort of a logbook of everything, how you set it up and what you did, so they can replicate that.
Yeah, so they can come on site. So I'm talking more about private collaborations actually, but also the clients, they can come on site, they can shadow kind of us during their process runs. But everything, of course, will be organized and operated and implemented by our staff members.
Yeah. Scale up.
So scale up is that we accompany them in the different technology readiness level steps. So let's say from 10 liter to 100 or to 30 liter to 150 liter, 1,500 liter. And then we're already talking about 15,000 liter. And after this summer, we will talk about 75,000 liter.
Yeah.
So
you keep moving, you keep growing up your own capacity to be able to make larger and larger pilot demo runs.
Oh, the 75 cubic for now, that will be our largest fermenter. So that's will be set up now. It's soon in commissioning, and then we can offer it as well. But basically, if there's really a full scale-up trajectory with different runs, this is kind of the size of volumes a customer has to go through to see if their process is stable.
Yeah, because there's a lot about that. A lot of things can happen when you scale up.
Everything can happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it can also happen that it doesn't work and they have to go back and do some more process optimization on those level, because it's more affordable as well. So it's not only the volume that increases, but also the costs and the prices that comes with it.
Custom manufacturing.
Yeah, indeed, that's also what happens sometimes. That just some application material is needed for some investors, for example, or to give it to the customer clients. So they tested in a formulation. So we had a lot of these food examples, and then need hundreds of kilograms of application material or a couple of tons. So that's something we can then offer for them as well, because it's like in the middle. Yeah, it's too low to go to a full CDMO, so to a full manufacturing company. So it's kind of really filling the gap for this volume of application material.
Okay, but are we talking about if a food producer wants to develop a more bio-friendly product, for instance, let's say a food bar, something like this, and they want to go from they want to make a more bio-based product, so to say, and they want to test or manufacture, custom manufacturing, just to see how I can make X thousands numbers of products to see how it will do on the market. Is that an example of how it works?
It's still basically about one process and mostly about one end product.
Okay.
So maybe they have already something similar that they're producing on their own, but they changed a little bit of it, or they changed the strain, or they want to test a different feedstock, etc. So they cannot stop their production line, right? Because then they will lose all of it. So they're using open access shared pilot and demo facilities to test something out new.
So it's basically, instead of them setting up a parallel facility to test exactly that, they rent yours that can be customized and set up to replicate what it would look like, and then they run it and see how it works.
Basically, that's the idea. Yeah.
Okay. We're not going to dig too much because we need to move into the EU funding part here. I'm just curious. And then you do certifications, which is normal for organizations like yours. So you will have companies come and say, we need to certify that this
No.
process. No?
No, I have to say
Oh,
it's
I'm sorry.
a blunt no. Very direct. No, we don't give out any certifications.
Okay.
What it means is we are ISO 9001 certified for quality and FSSC 22000 for food. So we can produce food grade products, and we have the certification to run a food grade process.
Okay, so you have the certificates yourself. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I understand.
But it's not uncommon to have this question or this remark.
Yeah, but it's because it's normal to have this kind of no. Okay, so we already talked about the sectors that are using the. Are you thinking about? Okay, are you having ambition as a organization or to expand on sectors you can serve? You understand? Moving into including. You said that there are some things you cannot, but do you have sort of a strategy to make your tests and demo facilities possible to include other sectors within the bioeconomy that you cannot serve now?
We actually do that to a certain extent. So, like I said, we had the food grade certification before, I think since 2018. But then the demand or the question is coming more and more to exactly have this waste valorization. It didn't fit like with a food grade company. So what we had a project then, Waste to Funk, that uses from a waste collector, organic waste collector, the biomass as a feedstock, and turns this into lactic acid with a startup, and then into also biosurfactant as a second product. And there we had to build a new process hall for this kind of organic waste valorization processes. So there was already a very big step to open and expand our capabilities as well. But otherwise, I think we can pretty much serve any kind of industry.
I was just curious,
The gases as well. Yeah, the gases as well, the syngas.
Yeah.
For gas
Okay,
fermentation.
I'm just curious.
So waste gases as well. They're new.
That's a big thing. I remember one of the last EU proposals I was writing that we had different streams of biotechnology concepts to use in to sort of test different technologies out, and syngases was one of the tracks that was part of it. So I remember that when they talked about it, they said that this had a huge potential as a biotechnological process. So now, do you do research yourself?
We also do research ourselves, especially for gas fermentation. Yeah. No, we also do have R&D department now. Quite large, actually. I think 20 staff members.
Which makes sense. Yeah. Of course, you have a R&D heavy, so to say, demo side there. So of course it makes sense to sort of take advantage of building your research team also.
Yeah, also because a lot of the process development, we spoke about this before, really started earlier and the lower technology readiness level. So there's a really high demand also on low level to develop a process that can be scaled up. That is not being developed isolated in a research institute, for example, or university, which sometimes happens. And then they're using technologies or equipment that is not scalable. Because the purpose is different, of course. Huh?
All right, let's move into the EU funding. Now we sort of categorized and dug a little bit into sort of shaping up what kind of organization this is. Very interesting. Now, so you're 5 people. How do you work with it? Because my best guess would be that you've been dealing with EU funding since the organization started, since it was born out of an EU project, and it's natural. That's the whole baseline of this kind of organization, that it can be used to test and demo. But can you open this up a little bit for us? How you're working with EU funding?
So, how do we work with EU funding? It's like 1/3 of our business model. So getting grants on also on regional level. So we have a project manager looking into this one as well. It's really important for us. So at the moment we have, I think, 35 running or public funded projects.
And how many proposals are you waiting for?
Per year. Per year.
No, but let's at this moment, how many proposals are you waiting to get a reply, a feedback from evaluators?
It's maybe like 1/3 of this. So yeah, it's probably like 1/4 to 1/3 of the organization, of the effort we have to put in to get it right. But it's also for us it's really a lottery, huh? So yeah, we have to have a really high workload and effort to receive.
Because when it's a core part of the the basis financial foundation of the organization, naturally you have to keep it going. Yeah, have to keep you make what is the ratio of proposals and projects funded? What's that ratio? So how many do we need to send in every year to keep the flow of funded projects? Yeah, you've been running for a while, so you know that ratio quite well, I guess, in your team. But you also know probably the ratio is getting more and more in your favor because you know who to work with. So over the years, probably got a little better with the ratio because you have flagships, you're connected to consortia where you know that it's if it's probably done the proposals, the likability of getting the funding is raised.
Yeah, it would be easier if it would be this way, but actually not. So it's basically every time new when we join a proposal. So of course you have some partners that you worked with in the past, and you already have an ongoing project. That's actually nice when it comes from like a RIA, like a research innovation action, to an innovation.
Oh, that's nice.
Example.
It's 100%.
Yeah, also because then there's a technology that is already tested, that's validated, that's already scaled up to a certain level, and you can really use this as a foundation and then build from this one. I think that's something we will see in the future now as well, because we had some R&D or some RIA projects. And we saw it for biosurfactants. So like the Waste to Funk project, from the waste valorization, the organic waste, to the biosurfactants with Ampistar. And we won SurfSub, so it started last month, which is innovation action. So then that's really nice.
Do you get are you an NGO, meaning you get 100%? Or how does that hit you with the innovation action? Is that a 70%?
No, it's also
rate? Yeah, because you're an NGO.
You're not for profit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point of being involved if it's 60% or 70% funding for us, because we don't keep the IP?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's rough on an organization like yours. So that's it's actually from that point of view that's fine. It's been chosen to be an NGO.
Yes.
Not a profit. Definitely. This I put here outlined so if you talk a little bit about strategy, I guess it's quite you know exactly what you do. You probably have a quite well developed strategy on which calls, who to collaborate with, which things to follow through on the content side, strong core collaboration partners where you coordinate all the time on what's going to happen next when you have a year and a half left, so to say, of a project, so to say, and then you get together and say, so we need to establish what happens in a year and a half. So try to, am I guessing wrong?
No, that's correct. So we are really closely monitoring which kind of call topics are coming out in the next half year or in the next year. So we have some certain channels where we can, monitor this and also give feedback if it's requested. But yeah, it's really to see that there are many chances for new fitting call topics, but that's nothing we can decide. We can monitor it and check it and give feedback through our networks and platforms, for example, or national contact points. But that basically counts for everybody, yeah, that is involved in doing or wants to be involved at this level.
Yeah.
But it's been discussed in detail a lot.
Of course, you need to when it's an organization like this. But let's just establish what where your funding sources are. So naturally, Horizon Pillar 2. What is that?
It's cluster 6.
Cluster 6.
Cluster, for the bioeconomy. Cluster 5 as well, for the energy or the gas cementation, as you mentioned before. Sometimes cluster 4 as well.
Are there any other sources in Horizon? Are there any other corners where you?
Because the funding rate is then different. So for us, Horizon Europe is the most suitable one. We use different ones for like the ERDF structure for the regional infrastructure money.
Are they? But that's not 100%, is it?
No, that's always co-financed.
Yeah.
So because we can co-financing because we are not for profit, so every euro we can actually invest back in our infrastructure and equipment. So that's also the way how we could expand the facility.
Do you go? You're born out of an Interreg. Do you do that kind of stuff anymore?
We tried it. Also on policy level. So for voucher programs or coupon programs, there was a biobase for SME, which was a Interreg Northwest Europe one, and we had Interreg Europe. But I think now it's also only 60%.
Interreg is rough. Interreg is rough.
Very high administrative burden. I was coordinating an Interreg, and
Yeah, but it's also, I haven't, so I don't have any experience. I've just been telling people how to. But it's also to secure a bit more hard content like this, you say vouch something like this. You need to make sure to go in the right corners because many projects are more. Some people will get angry when I say it's a travel and cocktail party project, but you have knowledge exchange. Yeah, there's a lot of knowledge exchange in the Interreg system, where of course they have hard measures. They have to deliver some results, but often it's policy documents or stuff like this. Where here you have, if you've been doing this kind of voucher related things, then that's a little bit more concrete where it makes sense.
No, it was really a driver also for some of the companies who received the voucher coupon. So we are very high advocate of such a setup. That were really accelerating their business and innovation. Not using only, let's say, only pilot demo facility, but also for other services like LCA, TEA, market analysis, business development. So these kind of services were also included in this kind of project.
LCA, life cycle analysis, I guess, also. These kind of things. So any other EU, because then of course you have the local national funding schemes you can run for in Flanders, but are there any other EU corners?
There are the EIC programs, the Innovation Fund.
So the research focus. So you have these kind of things also.
Yeah, we also tried this one as well, but it really needs to strategically fit then our R&D.
Yeah, so that's one university with maybe one or like a research team. So that's very it's quite narrow, so to say, in terms of having a big consortium.
Yeah, or the European Innovation Council programs, the EIC, for investment.
For SMEs. So
Yep.
the accelerators. Yeah.
The
So you have.
accelerators.
Yeah.
The Pathfinder, we also checked.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the Marie. What's that name? Marie Sklodowski.
Yeah. They changed the name.
Actions.
Yeah.
Changed. Yeah.
Always test the Polish capacities. Okay, so that's fine. You have sort of a bouquet on the European level. But as we mentioned in the beginning, circular bio-based economy joint undertaking, the BBI.
Yeah, that's the closest related to our activities.
Regulars of this podcast will know that they've been on board twice in this podcast. So I have a double episode. We had an episode. I developed an episode, recorded an episode about the info days that they have, and I developed a double episode about the CB, the Circular Bio-based Economy, Circular Bio-based Europe organization. Double episode about the organization as such. Some of you would know, and I will put a reference to a link to the episodes here on the episode site, so you can go and check it out. But that. And I knew that already before I contacted you. That's a core organization for you. That's a core funding administrator for you. Yeah.
Yes. So we are also on the board. So from one of the joint undertakings, the Bioindustry Consortium, we are on the board as SME representative.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we are very close connected to them. I mean,
and that's the full circle, as we mentioned before, right? So you sit there and are involved in shaping what the work program is going to look like. So code profile, stuff like that. You give input in that process, I guess, no?
We can give some feedback. Yeah. So it's
like everybody else, in the working groups.
Yes. So industry members, associate members, R&D members.
Yeah.
I think they have over 300 members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big organization. It's very well built up. It's quite impressive, actually.
Yeah.
And then naturally, this is the main source of your European funding, because it fits a lot with what kind of facility you have there, right? The things that needs to be done in many of the calls that comes from there.
Yes, sure. So not in all of them, but because we can offer so many different technologies, bio-based technologies, and on different technology readiness level, we can actually be involved in any of the call topics from low TRL up to high TRL. So from the RIA, Innovation Action, and also the flagships.
Yeah, very well. Now, we talked a little bit about the organization. Maybe we don't need to add more to that, but it's just like how you arrange yourself. So you have 5 people, and I hesitate. So you're 5 people, and the reason why I said that is because what we just talked about, your deep involvement in the calls related to Circular Bio-based Europe, and that part of the work program, Cluster 6, you must be invited a lot. And your strategy in your end, now I'm putting words in your end. Again, I'm speaking for you, guessing or analyzing, deducting. Your role in relating to EU proposals, it's more related to identify the right ones you want to join, because my best guess is you get a lot of invitations. Is that correct?
We get some invitations. We're also looking actively to become a partner. So we really do a lot of matchmaking, proactively engaging with interesting organizations or companies that we see. We're also suggesting sometimes, if they are a client of us, of course we prioritize them if we find a matching funding opportunity for them. We suggested. But yeah, we involved them in some of the proposals, let's say.
But I'm surprised if you say that you don't have to choose. It's okay to say that you're popular in the class. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, as you said now, if there's so many and we have 5 people, so we have to balance our workload as well. So we really want to start early in discussing the concept of the proposal and see if it makes sense or not, if it has potential. But mostly actually it does. So until they realize they need a scale up and pilot facility, most partners have developed a nice concept, and it's really interesting to join very many different concepts and different core topics.
Yeah, but in that end, you have a capacity issue, and you will, because I know how these things work, you will be invited into proposals to the same calls. So I guess that in the pre-proposal phase, when you are identifying who you want to play with, where you want to go, what suits you best, and so on, you do have a screening process of a lot of discussions. You have brokerage events, you have picking up with probably also you yourself reach out to some of the ones that you know will be involved in things without going to brokerage events, right? So you will have dialogues, a lot of dialogues before sort of between a year and 6 months up to the proposal deadline. You will have to position yourself in where to go, which ones to go with, and why. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. That's our daily job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's important for the listeners this is what I want to share with people, how these things work, because it's a process. So
long process.
Yeah. So it's when your organization like yours, you need to do this, especially when it's something that a lot of people, when you have something that a lot of people want on board. So your challenge in your end is to make sure that, first of all, don't make people angry, or you say we have to choose an hour, and this is the capacities we have, and we go with this because that's a concept we believe the most in. Or we've been doing things before that synergizes with those processes that we want to do stuff like this. Yeah. So you have a lot of things that you need to think about and put into your priority list, so to say, when you choose, and that's a big work.
It is, and
because you are reliant on the funding that this is what we talked about a little earlier. You have a ratio 1 out of 4. Let's just say that 25% comes through. So you need to, in your end, those hours that you spent, you need to come back in funding one way or the other. And if you pick the ones you pick, the likability of funding is, of course, that's where you want to go. And sometimes it balances. So this is good, but this is also good. It's but we can't do both. We are 5 people. Capacity wise, we can.
We just work more. It's okay.
Yeah, that's the spirit, Tanya. I love it. No, but you know what I mean. You probably often stand in a dilemma about which one to choose. Also, maybe there's might be a dilemma of the fact saying, look, we have to choose one. Some might don't care that you're in both, but sometimes they say, well, we don't want you in both proposals. You need to choose.
Well, in this case, we keep then the how do you say the follow-up apart. It's not like there's a garden of proposals and we can pick the nicest flowers. It's like we ask, or we make a lot of promotion also now and on LinkedIn to be asked to be involved very early on. So we can also recommend a lot of partners that are still missing, or we can see how the proposal has been shaped, the concept, because we have a lot of experience. Yeah. So like really now in May, June is the perfect time to get in contact for a deadline in September. Yeah? Because then we can actively engage with the consortium. And yeah, if it's settled and if it's clear and the workload, work package or task are defined, yeah, then it's easier to manage also being involved in many proposals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's good to make a practical example. So you have deadlines in September, and writing sort of soon work package groups need to start discussing in console, right? What is going to happen? You need, because you have the summer holiday. So sort of, I remember from P&O that when doing these, you would start to have pen to paper in June, because you need to have something available for partners to look at before they go on holiday. So they need to discuss in the work package groups in more detail how the project concept is supposed to look, how things are going to look together, connections between the different parts of the work that needs to be done, so on and so forth. This kind of thing. There should be sort of an idea of what it's going to look like, the proposal in draft form. Not 70 pages or but like sort of 10 pages with where you can get an idea. Okay, this is where things are going. This is so you can work with it when people go on. Feedback can be reached before people go on holiday, so the one that is writing can develop when people are away. So this
That's
is
a
now.
good description. Yeah.
So this is what you're doing now is that now you're closing your partnerships. Yeah, you're closing the ones you want to be together with. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's also a difference if we're like, let's say, partner or if we're coordinating. That's something that makes a big difference. So we do coordinate proposals and projects, but we are involved in many more as a partner. So we would not coordinate and being a partner.
And this is an important part of the strategy when you're only 5, because you want a big hand on some things that is strategically important for the organization. That's where you coordinate, right? You might do the research team, I guess, so they have things, and then you say, okay, we will do this. And then you attach yourself as partner on things where say it's good for us to be there, but we're not so heavily.
Yeah. But for coordination, it really needs fit into the strategy, like for the biosurfactants that I mentioned earlier for Amphistar, the spin out, or on policy level, for the pilot and demo facilities database, the co-pilot that will start now. We're coordinating this one as well. I took over coordination once as a neutral partner as well. Also, one time there was UK partner where UK was not involved yet 2 years ago. So yeah, we do coordination of projects as well.
Do you have a policy? Do you have a rule of thumb saying, okay, we can handle X number of projects as a coordinator at a given time? How many? How much
Maybe
can
one
you as
or
an
two.
organization handle?
Yeah.
It's
For proposal writing, it's also different than from implementation. So proposal writing, we had 1 or 2, because then really one full staff member,
it's terrible.
it's busy.
Horrible.
It's occupied. But we're writing about our favorite topic, so it's not so horrible.
It depends how many partners. Oh no, takes me back. And you never partnered in one of my proposals.
You never
Actually,
invited me.
no, that's not true.
That's not true. Oh,
Yeah. I think I would, but it was not you. It was your colleague, and you had decided for something else. It's like this. It's exactly this what we're talking about here, right? The decision process and choosing and screening and so on and so forth.
If it's a couple of years ago, we were also a smaller organization, huh? So because again there was need, we also expanded this team, huh?
Yeah, no, but we would have loved to. Me and my colleague would love to have you on board what we were doing, but no chance. No. So in the so here I have, so for the rundown here I have, so you have the technical involvement, but that's obvious. If you're coordinating, if it's your research team, then it's of course much more heavier involvement because naturally you're coordinating, and it's probably a concept, a project concept that comes from your research guys.
That's not yet necessarily the case. No. That's the case for the biosurfactants for sure, where there's research done the last 15, 16, 17 years. But also coordination was now I'm coordinating LUCRA, which valorizes Madrid's household waste for bioxycenic acid.
Mhm.
So it's not only that something that comes out from our R&D. That's more actually for a national funded project like the Moonshots.
Okay. Mhm.
But on European level, it's still a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're involved. Are you involving the research team in some of your EU projects?
If it's funded, yes.
Yeah. Okay. How structured are you around because now we talked about screening, we talked about the process of acquiring projects and so on and so forth. How structured are you around that? Have you as direct stretch, so have you listed the brokerage events that you that you have to go to over the years? Do you have channels sort of structured in? Have you put it down on paper, so to say, like how to acquire also new things, maybe of outside the circles of your network, or are the brokerage events the key source of that?
It's one source. So we're actually a team of 14 people. So there's also the business developer, the communication department, the stakeholder relations manager. So we are also involved in we set up the protein club for microbial protein, and we're basically using any channel that we find is valuable. We've been invited also sometimes to give presentations into conferences or on different occasions, also policy-wise. So yeah, from the funded European funded project, of course, we can use the communication dissemination channels.
Mhm.
Also taking part in conferences, so everything that's also internally discussed and decided where has to go where and when, with the booth, with the presentation, as participant. So it's a lot of organization. Yeah.
It's the way that I was doing these things. I used the brokerage events a lot, but I also, from many of my contacts within of different kind of areas, the idea would be that you invest in the early phase. If you're not done your project before, you come into it, you invest a lot in attaching yourself to networks, and then when you start having funded projects start to be part of networks, you start to it's sort of releases a little bit the acquisition part of proposals. You start to be invited yourself. Yeah, you start to, and we discussed a little earlier. If you don't, if it's more like a screening process where you need to sort in the ones you're invited to. But it sounds like you are yourself in many places. Do you also use because they have a very good platform in the Circular Bio-based Europe, or so in the Bio-based consortium there, they have the networking platform, permanent networking platform. Do you use that?
Yeah. So matchmaking for us means attending physically in the events, but also online. So the follow-up will be mostly anyway online. So we are representative there. Another channel we are using is a lot of clusters or networks. So in different parts. So when we're participating in coordination and support actions. So we had Pilots for You, Tech for Biowaste, Bioeconomy Ventures, Shaping Bio. It's a governance project now for shaping the bioeconomy. Now the co-pilot again. So these coordination and support actions type of projects helps us finding new partners and then outreaching into new networks and environments as well. So
the implementation part. How much are you your team there? How much are you involved in that? Is it content people in other parts of the organization, engineers that are involved in that, or how are you responsible for the administrative part of the rollout of the projects, or how do you work with that?
So there's always, like, let's say, a responsible person from the project acquisition team, either a business developer or one from the public funding of a group that is in contact with the team leader. So we have also teams, and then it goes really to the engineer and the technicians on the shop floor when the project is implemented, like a implementation run, for example, is scheduled and it needs to be organized. But indeed, it always goes back administrative, financial-wise, management-wise to one of us, let's say.
Yeah, but it's not only that. Because my best guess is that because you are a facility that is very concrete in relation to a project implementation, where something is actually being carried out, visits, project meetings, do you have them? Yeah, partner meetings, where let's go down and see how it actually goes with the actual.
So there, basically every 6 months is a project meeting. Every month is a work package leader telco. Then inside work package, there are also meetings and follow-ups. So now for June, July, I think I have in 4 weeks like 6 project meetings.
Physical, right? They want to come. They want to come, right?
It's really important to meet face to face. Yeah. Discuss.
So you have a good deal with a nice hotel in the nearby. They're very happy.
It will be interesting, to travel.
No, but I can very vividly imagine that you will have now almost a flow of people coming from the different projects you're involved in, because it's a concrete outcome of the part of a project. It's not just moving paper or sitting and making an analysis. It's actual something in.
But the type of project also changes. And now you really have to start or involve very different types of partners along the value chain, from waste and to the technical parts to horizontal activities, TL, LCA, multi-group stakeholder engagement. So it's a very broad expertise that comes together now in these CBE GU collaboration proposals.
All right. How often do you go to Brussels for meetings?
It's still okay. It's not so often, actually.
There's a flow. Yeah. So you have a flow when
maybe 6 times.
Preparation of work programs, the input from the stakeholders, when they arrange these processes of new call types and how the profile should be and so on and so forth. Yeah.
I mean, they're also really trying to support the matchmaking. Like last week, there was a cost action. No, there is cost action. And then they set up a matchmaking event with the CBE. So I was happy. I was glad to be able to present 2 of my projects. And there were 40, 50, 60 people. You can't talk to all of them, but it's good to be close to really Brussels also and take this opportunity. So it's convenient. That's nice.
First of all, you're close, so you can take the train. And Brussels is vital to be when you are an organization like yours, to have a feeling of what's going on within the field that you're working in and the ecosystem relevant to you and so forth. It's just, it's important.
Also, in terms of if you invite people, like now we are inviting people, I mean startups, SMEs, other pilot demo facilities, investors to come to Brussels on the 3rd of December for Pitch Perfect event, which is also a pure pitch event and matchmaking event, so no talks. And it's also convenient for other partners to fly into Brussels and to meet there.
Tanya, I put in here practical examples. That was more to get things tangible, but we talked a little bit. Is there anything, have you thought about something that is really nice, that is a good example of, concrete example of projects you've been doing?
Yeah, so one very good example was actually this, I mentioned it earlier, the Waste to Funk project would help us to expand into a gray hall for waste valorization processes. And a come out of this was the Amphastar Biosurfactants, a spin-off company, together with Ugent. And they actually produced biosurfactants that are now in EcoWare, which is a brand for household detergents.
Yeah, I know
detergents.
that.
Yeah, so they had their marketing strategy launched recently. So that's a nice example because they could also show that they're going from a research level into an innovation level now.
Those are always the best examples. If you can see that something survives in the real world, it's not just in this parallel world of EU projects.
Yeah. Plus, they're also going to settle down now in Belgium with their own pilots or with their own demo facility.
Okay.
So actually, they bring also new jobs, etc., to Belgium, to Flanders. Yeah, we helped a lot of companies. So we have a lot of testimonials actually on our website. So we really try to share as much we can and be very transparent. So the Steelanol project, for example, with Lanzatec, which developed a gas fermentation process that is now being established as Asolmita, a steel manufacturer, is another very great example.
Yeah.
To produce some ethanol. And they are still developing it further as well. Or for, you mentioned food. We mentioned food a lot in the beginning. So enough technology was also developed at Biobased Europe pilot plant from a project, and it's now a flagship. So they are, for 70 million euros, they're building their demonstration plant together with Cargill. As a biorefinery just at the border to the Netherlands. But it's really for high quality protein and fibers as a food substitute.
Because that is also a big area of yours, this new protein alternative to meat, so to say, food sector that is coming out, and it's quite large now. Yeah, it's growing a lot.
Yes and no. So the regulatory issues, I think, yes, quite too high. So I don't say much about this. We will see.
that's a whole new podcast. Yes. But what I'm going to do, Tanya, I'm going to put a link to the to your website and to the testimonial site, so people can see what kind of things that you have been
that would be great.
I put here future as blog, but that's more we already discussed a little bit that you are moving as an organization, of course, always looking forward to build. So that's the general impression, right? So you try to keep building your capacity so you can lift more and more as a pilot sector.
Yeah, also to stay state of the art. So that's an expression we actually use a lot. Not only to grow and grow and grow. I think we had our, for now with the 75 cubic fermenter that we are launching, it will be an epic launch, by the way. You will see it in preparation now. But
why epic? Is that a cliffhanger for my listeners if they want to go to get?
Yeah, you're developing an own movie.
Connect with. What I can say is to you all that, as with all my episode pages, there's also a direct link to Tanya's LinkedIn site, so you can go there and connect with her, and then you can see what the epic is about.
Yeah, it will be epic, legendary.
Ooh,
we like to think out of the box. If you watch some of our videos, actually, like the Waste to Funk is just released, I think yesterday or 2 days ago. It's also a very out of the box video.
Okay, everybody's curious now that listens to this. So yes,
Should-
there is a link. There's a link to Tanya's LinkedIn site. So connect with her and you see what she's talking about. The Grand. Yeah, we are almost done. Almost over the goal
I'm sure you
line.
still have a last question.
I do. It's a segment I've been having since I started this podcast 115, 20 episodes ago. The toughest challenge. So, what is the toughest challenge of being a facility working with EU funding, demonstration facility working with EU funding? What is the toughest challenge at your desk? Sorry.
At my desk, yeah, I think it's really keeping the balance and securing. Yeah, I mean, we're there for a purpose, like this OpenX pilot demo facility. So we would like to see like other companies growing and evolving. I'm serious. And we would like to see, or we're trying to see that they get enough access to pilot infrastructure. So it should actually not be a bottleneck for them to use such kind of facilities because the capacity is there. It's higher actually than the demand is. Lead times are short. So a challenge that we see is also still that they can get, I don't know, government support or national support or grants or loans to use this pilot and demo facility to cross the valley of death, to really go from a lab scale to pilot scale to demo scale to manufacturing scale. So we try to do this and help them with European funding projects. But if there could be another type, I think that would help actually more.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Niels.
Yeah, I'm just going to land the plane before we say goodbye to the dear listeners. So, dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to the end. I hope you found this interesting. Not only if you are within bioeconomy, but in general to understand how organizations like this work and the challenges that they're facing and how they operate with the strategies and so on and so forth. If you found this interesting, you will probably find a lot of other stuff interesting on my flow of podcast here. So I have a good deal over 115 episodes at this stage. So there should definitely be something of your interest in there. I try my best to categorize my episodes and put them under Horizon. So I have buttons on my platform where you can see all episodes with Horizon Europe relevance or as a coordinator or Erasmus Plus or whatever your interest is. So go in there, check it out. It's thegrant.eu. Lots of stuff that should be interesting for you. And while you're in there, don't forget to subscribe to my email list. That's the currency in the podcast world. So if you have any sympathy with what I'm doing, please, by all means, subscribe to that. And finally, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where the fun happens. That's where the flow is. And I have recently established a page for the grant. And I'm trying to get people to like that, to follow that, because I will try to channel a lot of my activities onto the page naturally. So that's a transition phase, as you can imagine out there as an independent podcaster going from yourself, building a page for that. So, yeah. Do you have a LinkedIn page for the organization?
We have, and we have over 13,000 followers.
Holy crap!
So it's really nice. If we get some more, and if you would like to connect, yeah.
I'm really a rookie when it comes to, guys. I've been using my own personal LinkedIn profile for the flow of communication and so on. But I realize the longer I'm in this game, I need to professionalize that a little bit. Also because I have a daytime job that's not related to what I do here, right? So when I like stuff, when I use it in my daytime job. So there's a chance people get confused with the stuff that I post for my work, that, and vice versa, the grant followers, they get stuff about attracting labor to the South Denmark region. So yeah.
So many heads on the heads.
It's and I didn't think that through when I started this a couple of years ago. So I'm just going to start like this slowly. It's not so me expert. This is all acquired knowledge. Now you also got a view into the podcast machine room, my dear guests. The amateurism of your host.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Do my best. Tanya, thank you so much for coming by. This was really nice.
Thanks, Niels.
And
I have to thank you for inviting me and being able to share so many insights.
And you know what? I always guests of my show, they're always welcome back. So it's I always give people the opportunity if there's anything specific they want to do. So if you have any of the projects you're rolling out or anything where I say, okay, this would be interesting to have a podcast. So it's you're always welcome to get back to me with a good idea, and then we can see if we can do something about it.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and but also for practical, like I do have a VAT number now. So if you want the grant, and that's also for you out there, if you want the grant on board, a proposal or project, more than welcome to reach out because I can do that now. So, Tanya, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's say goodbye to the dear listeners. Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant. All the Grant episodes have their own site on the Grant website. You will find the link in the episode notes where you listen to your podcast. On the site of this episode, you will find a link to Tanya's personal LinkedIn site as well as a link to the Bio-based Europe Pilot Plan website. Further, there's a direct link to their project site with all the EU projects they are involved in. In next week's episode, I continue the newly launched implementation series, zooming in on how to develop the consortium agreement. I have again the great Georg Melzer-Mentui in the studio explaining the function of the consortium agreement and giving tips and tricks and input on how to approach the process. You can indeed look forward to that. Finally, some of you might have noticed that I launched a collaboration with grants consultancy company Inspire Science a couple of weeks ago. Together, the great team of Inspire Science and the grant developed Inspire Science's own series of 3 episodes, flagging their capacities within different areas of supporting research organizations towards EU funding. You will find it under the label The Grant Collaboration where you listen to your podcasts. The final episode has just been launched. If you're curious and think that this could be something for you, then go and check out the possibilities on my website, thegrant.eu, under the menu Collaboration. If you have a specific message within the EU R&D funding that you want to share and think that podcast and sound would be an appealing tool in your communication strategy, please reach out to me for a conversation on how I can help you to make that happen. The grant is also open to join EU proposals as a partner or subcontractor. Adding sound to the proposal communication strategy can be a strong addition to connecting with the project stakeholders and the world beyond the realm of the project. Reach out through LinkedIn or my website if interested. See you next week.